RomTom Episode 2, NFL Week 4, we're back. We couldn't be even more back. Justin Herbert's playing like an MVP candidate. We'll get to that shortly, but a little check-in. How are things looking after the first 3 weeks? As of right now, the first question I have for you, Tom.
Yeah.
Can we just write in Buffalo, Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay to win their respective divisions?
Yes. Yes, brother. We sure can. The NFC absolute powerhouses right now. It's exciting to watch as well, and the quality of quarterback play seems to only be getting better around the league as well. Not without a few disappointments though. I've got to say, look at guys like Geno Smith, Bryce Young, overall fallen short of expectations, but man, it'll be an interesting league to observe as the year goes on. That's for sure.
Another question I have for you. I mean, Danny Indiana Jones Dimes is
Oh my goodness.
playing unreal. The Colts are 3-0 as we speak. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how seriously should we be taking them as not just winning the division, but in the conference?
Man, I'm giving the Colts an 8 out of 10 because I am pretty high on them because of the complete roster they have, as I mentioned last week. Like their defense, and even special teams at times, but predominantly the defense and offensive line, and the running game with Jonathan Taylor has been ready to win for what, like 2 to 3 years now. So now they've finally got, the quarterback position hopefully solidified, at least on a temporary basis. It's going to be really exciting to see what they can do. And I think, to my knowledge, we've only seen Daniel Jones appear in one playoff game, I think, which was DeBoll's first or second year. I'm pretty sure. So we haven't seen a lot of him at that end of the year. So it's hard to make a prediction, as to how he's going to handle the bigger moments, but it's super exciting to watch for the moment anyway.
Now, looking ahead for the Colts schedule, I could easily see them being 8-2 after 10 games. Their next game this Sunday is against the Rams. Then they have the Raiders, Cardinals, which could be back-to-back victories. And then they have the Chargers, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. 8-2
Okay,
seems
okay,
pretty reasonable.
it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable. I think you would agree the Rams and Chargers extremely tough matchups. I'd even throw. It depends how the Steelers do if they get hot. Um, I think if their offense looks a bit more fluent, I think the defense really won them that game against the Patriots. But it'll be interesting to see how they develop. They could be a real threat at that time of year too, and even Atlanta, to be honest, because the way Bijan's running the ball, they just had a very disappointing game against the Panthers. But I think the consensus is Michael Penix is looking good, reasonably good at least for such a young guy. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I really think the Colts could be this year's Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota last year had an unbelievable run before a disappointing playoff exit. In
Mm.
terms of the Bronco Nation, what's the panic meter rating for Bo Nix at quarterback?
Man, I'm not overreacting. All right, it's about to be week 4. The Broncos, they exceeded expectations last year, and so did Bo Nix personally. I mean, no one expected him to come out and have that kind of a rookie campaign. The only reason it got overshadowed a little is because of what Jaden Daniels did. So I think, without Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix is unequivocally, the rookie of the year. And then going into year 2, it's like we talked about with Arch Manning, the expectations. It's like now everyone sets the bar up here, and then it's harder to reach. So, man, I'm not panicking. I'm cool, calm, and collected. I think on the Broncos and Bo Nix, but I wonder who do they have this Sunday? I forget.
They have the Bengals on Monday.
That's very interesting. That should be a bounce back game.
If
Uh,
not, I think you have to, the panic meter gets a little hot.
it it gets a little rocky up there at Mile High. Because we saw what the Minnesota defense did against the Bengals. So I mean that could be a real confidence game for the Broncos, as it was for Minnesota. Honestly, coming off such a disappointing loss, they were able to fire on all cylinders, and then they look like a new team. So maybe that's who the Bengals have become now without Joe Burrow. It's just beat up on them, but we'll see.
Now, Lane Kiffin, he's been in the media a little bit. his daughter is dating the LSU starting linebacker Whit Weeks, and that's caused a bit of controversy because they are playing each other tomorrow. We're recording this Friday evening,
Bit of a stir.
and it's stirring the matters up a little bit. I know we're covering mostly NFL, but I just had to get your thoughts on what's your thoughts on that kind of situation. I'll lead it back. It'll be a round circle, so this isn't too far of where we're going, but I'll draw it in.
We'll do a little circular discussion here. So I mean, I I think it's huge for the brand. I think, if I'm in the dude's shoes, like I love the hard launch kind of atmosphere. I love, I don't think chivalry's dead. I think, it looks like they've got a nice, well buttoned up, put together picture on there that they've shown the people. So I mean, I'm really impressed with the young man at linebacker, I believe. So I'm excited to see you know, what the Tigers do come tomorrow, and how Lane Kiffin responds too. It's hard to get inside the mind of Lane Kiffin right now. It's a very polarizing week for him, having his daughter swept away. But yeah, I'm impressed with the young man, and his attitude towards things. So
Let's just hope he doesn't cause too many forced fumbles on and off the field there.
yes, agreed, brother. Agreed.
Tying that into making it all make sense. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, he did play there last year. What are your expectations for him this week getting his first start for the Giants as they go up against who are they playing? 1 second, folks.
Yeah, we'll see. But regardless, I mean, my expectations are high, honestly. I think he could come in and snag Offensive Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year.
The
Uh,
Chargers who it was. I saw it
yeah,
finally, but
look, that's a tough first matchup. But I think it's going to sound weird because it is the Giants, but I think it's all set up for him in that, like, now, he's officially been named the starter. I think it was a bit of an issue getting in rhythm because he was being taken in and out for random plays sporadically throughout the first 3 weeks. I think that, is not ideal for a young quarterback, but now he comes in, gets named the starter. He's a confident guy, lots of hype build up around the game. So I don't think I don't think the lights will be too big for him, even though he's playing against the Chargers defense. And the Chargers are flying around on all facets of the game right now. But my expectations are high, honestly, the way we saw him lead at Ole Miss. And, the swagger he brings to the NFL. I heard, Chris Collinsworth was even glazing him during the Chiefs game, saying, because he had to play Patrick Mahomes on scout team and is, side arming it and stuff. So I think it provides more excitement factor for the fans as well over Russell Wilson. Even though he had that great game against the Cowboys, I think the, new, young, exciting prospect, the fans want to see.
I think the all Caucasian backfield of him and Scattaboo will very much look like RomTom.
Yeah, it is insane, isn't it? We'll have to dive in the history books to see the last time that occurred on an NFL field. Um, Man, we'd be going back a little bit, looking at Brady and Danny Woodhead potentially. I'm not even sure at this point, but
We'll have that for the audience next week. We'll send
mm,
the research team to dive back into the files. But the last question I had for just a week 4 preview, a little check-in. What's the panic rating for the Houston Texans fan base?
the Houston Texans, I'm pressing panic. I'm pressing panic.
You're 10 out of 10.
I'm pressing the button all the way down to the point where it's almost broken, to be honest. The way that, I mean, you look at some of the elite coaches around the league, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, they've been able to rebuild their offensive lines, in off seasons. Bang, bang, rebuild the offensive line, new signings through the draft. D'Amico Ryans, they haven't been able to do that for, the going into his third year for CJ Stroud. So that's very disappointing, honestly. And that's not the only issue. That's kind of, where the issues begin to stem. But I think there's definitely bigger issues at play for the Texans. I think if they don't turn it around, we could see D'Amico Ryans on the hot seat even, later in the season, which is crazy to say. But I think, after we saw what CJ Stroud did his rookie year, and then somewhat of a regression after that. I think questions need to be asked about having a defensive head coach, in that scenario and whether they're as offensively minded as they could be.
Now, I believe that the Houston Texans have had different offensive coordinators. They at least have it different since his rookie season. So I think that's definitely screwing up CJ Stroud. The
Yeah,
sophomore slump, it was kind of expected last year, but this year it's tough. I think if next year he's struggling, it's really gonna be tough for him because when you have a stellar rookie season, the expectations are high. We've seen it
totally.
as you mentioned with Bo Nix and even Jane Daniels and
Mm.
I think for the Texans, it's tough when they have a really solid defense. It's just the offense is really struggling to really perform, and that division, as we've seen, is just really wide open. The Colts are leading it right now at 3-0, but that's pretty much a toss-up every single offseason. Are the Jags going to get it? The Titans, we figured, would be a little slow to start with starting a rookie quarterback and all that, but I think the Texans need to make some changes, or Ryan's very well could be out of a
Yeah,
job.
hey, and also, is that the weakest division in football now?
I think it could be. I think the AFC East is looking really rough. Both of the Jets and the Dolphins are 0-3. The Patriots are 1-2. Buffalo is obviously one of the best teams in the league,
It's
but
it's crazy, isn't it? Though the trajectory, because we saw Brady do this for 15 to 20 years to the AFC East, and now it's Josh Allen terrorizing the AFC East. We've watched it happen before our eyes, really.
the Bills fans just need a ring. I feel bad for them.
Agreed, agreed. But under that new stadium, I think that'll really set the momentum for that. But I'm rooting for them. I have been in previous AFC championships too, but divisional rounds, etc., against you know, old Paddy down here in Kansas City. But we'll see how it plays out come December.
I mean, this leads perfectly into the MVP discussion. I think Josh Allen has to be at the top of the list, if not right there. Lamar Jackson, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the season. Josh Allen, to this point, 70% completion percentage would be the best of his career so far. So, I mean that they are one and one A and one B right there. Justin Herbert looks like the best of his career right now. Jared Goff, 78% completion percentage would be the best of his career. He's improved each of the last 3 seasons on his career. And like we talked about earlier, Jonathan Taylor, I have to shout him how he's playing amazing.
Yes.
Former Wisconsin Badger, shout out to our brother Alex. He's
Yeah.
playing amazing for the Colts, and he's been a real good sidekick to Danny Dimes there in the backfield.
Yeah, agreed. And one name I'd point out there is Justin Herbert. He could really go out and win the MVP award. I think the lack of team success in the past has really hurt him. In terms of award categorizings and then even the quarterback rankings, because unfortunately when it gets to December, January, he just has to leave the mind of an NFL fan, because unfortunately he's not typically on the field deep into the playoffs. But I think having a bigger stage, people are really seeing now, and it feels like they have more prime time games this season. I think they may have had two so far, or maybe it was just the one. Or no, it was definitely two, because they had the Chiefs in Brazil and then the Raiders um, at home. And yeah, really impressed with what he's doing. I think Jared Goff, I mean, if he hadn't had the slightly slow start in week one, he'd be playing flawless. So I think that's the only stain on his resume right now. But I'd have to put Josh Allen at the top, Herbert second, and then I'd put Lamar for sure, because and with the Ravens, I think Derrick Henry's got to figure out how to hold onto the ball also. So that's must be frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that physically gifted, all you need to do is hang on to the ball, and you're gonna have a great showing, like we've seen so many times from Derrick Henry. And one of the things that I did want to look at for the NFL right now is kind of the rookie watch and kind of what's developing for the rookies. Cam Ward, I think it's just been tough sledding for him. I think one thing that I really wanted to mention and bring up as a question to you, Tom, who's
Mm.
been more disappointing as a rookie, Ashton Genty or Travis Hunter?
That's actually a really good question. I'm going to say, which I'd expect from you, obviously, but I would say Travis Hunter would be more disappointing, because the way I see it, Ashton Genty is very reliant being a running back on his offensive line. I think wide receiver which Travis Hunter has predominantly been through the first few weeks. I think that's more of an individualized position where obviously you are relying on your quarterback, but I think no one's putting Trevor Lawrence in, the bottom five or anything. He's still getting the ball out to his guys. But I think I would say Travis Hunter because of that reliance factor. And whereas Ashton Genty, from the parts of games I've watched, obviously, you live or die by your offensive line play. And I think the Raiders are not as strong there as they would have hoped to have been. Um, but yeah, I think Genty struggles. I would put more onus on the team. Hunter, I think, is more of an individual thing, but also it is early to predict that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I have to agree 100%. Obviously, just to note, the overreactions are flying. It's only 3 weeks.
Of
Obviously,
course,
things can
that's
change. The
yeah.
Colts could end up like 6-11. You never know what's going to happen.
No,
But
I don't do that.
no, they definitely won't. That's definitely off the table. But I digress. The winner, I think, as of right now, shockingly, of that trade draft night, the Browns. Mason Graham has been playing amazing for the Browns. He's one of the best rookies so far in the NFL this season. Membu has been playing great for the Jets. T-Mac, my guy. It sucks that
Yeah,
he's on probably the worst team in the NFL, but he's been playing great in Carolina.
Abdul Carter as well.
Abdul Carter, he definitely could win Rookie of the Year. Shout out to Tyler Warren too on the Colts, another Colts player. They're absolutely loaded. I cannot believe he dropped to 14. That was an absolute fumble by all of those GMs just passing on him. Imagine Tyler Warren in Dallas right now helping
Mm,
Dak. He could be in the Jaguars helping out Lawrence. So Emeka Ibuka at 19 to the Bucks. He's
yeah.
been an absolute stud. Another shout out I wanted to give to Nick Folk, a 40-year-old kicker, still in the league, still banging out 100% from field
Agreed.
goals for the Jets. He's been in the league for years. I
Yeah.
remember playing with him on like Madden '09, so
Oh,
he's been a legend. And
yeah.
this brings me right into our next segment, Coffin Corner, our weekly special teams analysis from punter Tom Troeth in Division Two. Now, I wanted to shout out the one highlight of Denver's season thus far. Jeremy Crawshaw has 9 punts inside the 20, which is most in the NFL. And I just wanted to know, since I've never been a punter myself, how hard is it to aim for the coffin corner and get these balls to land inside the 20-yard line?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly hard, but I think Crawshaw does a great job. I know he played for the Gators in college, and I think he does the drop punt style of punts, which is end over end. So that gives it the ability to bounce more favorably and more predictably as well for the gunners running down. So then they can cover the ball. If you're hitting a spiral, like we see in the NFL, it can bounce back this way, that way, and that's when you see, gunners might miss the ball and it rolls through for a touchback. But I know we work at practice a lot, and obviously NFL teams as well on the down at punts, which is, we drop an end over end punt inside the 10 or 5 yard line, and then the gunners are down there to cover it. So I think it's the whole like punt unit as well. It's like if you're watching a field goal unit, and it comes through and gets blocked, it's not always going to be on the kicker or punter. So I think the 9 inside the 20 is a big credit to the special teams group as well. Because, even watching the games, just even if you're not that invested in special teams, like you can see when a great effort is made, a great ball's kicked down the field and the gunners are running down to cover it, how valuable it is and how much it helps a team as well. Like it's invaluable the amount of momentum that gives you, I think, on the sideline.
Now with the Gunners, what is the coaches like? If you know this, I don't know if you're too in depth with this, but for the Gunners, do they try to get the fastest guy, or who do they try to get for those positions?
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be the fastest guy that's also got brains as well, because you need to have the football IQ to know kind of where anticipate where the ball's going to bounce, how it's going to bounce as well, and your job's basically just sprint down to the 1 yard line and then look back for the ball. So then it can't possibly get through for a touchback because watching the games as well, you see how much of a difference. Well, I know I'm not sure with the punt what the touchback yardage is. I think it's still 25 in the NFL, or they may have changed it to 30, but believe it's 25. But you see how much of a difference that makes. Even if you can get it at the 8 or 7 yard line, doesn't have to be the one, but that makes all the difference. Then, um, you know, allowing the team to just have 75 yards to the end zone opposed to, 90 plus.
In my like 20 years of attending football games, my first football game was an Arizona Purdue game when I was 3. I don't remember it, but in my 20 years of watching football, what I've noticed the most, probably especially in the past couple of years, is the field position. It's such a inches, it's a game by inches. The field
Mm.
position of downing it at the even in the 10 is huge. Because those touchbacks, yeah, they might not seem like they matter, but if you're able to nail an opponent inside the 10 and then they have to punt it after a couple plays, you can get it at the midfield. So definitely field position I think is something that is a little bit underrated for just general viewers of watching.
Yeah, I think it's become more relevant now because people see with the kickoff zones as well. People see, it's a lot more relevant because, this year I've noticed there's been a lot of kicks out of bounds or outside the zone and they're penalised potentially. I believe it's to the 40-yard line still for an out of bounds kick. But that is huge. Like that's a, 3 or 7 point swing because, you're virtually in field goal range almost with the kickers these days. So
Is there anything while you're watching special teams that just frustrates you? Like when you see a myth, like when a punter gets blocked, does that piss you off? Like what's something that really like gets under your skin?
that's annoying, but I think it's always great effort on the return team. The only thing that really gets to me is a gunner running down for the ball and just missing it, and it goes through for the touchback because obviously that really hurts the punter's net average. So that's probably the only pet peeve. Other than that, love some good special teams plays like blocked kicks, blocked punts. Ironically, I'm all for it, and it changes the swing of the game. Like the momentum that it allows your team to gain is just invaluable.
I mean, we saw those blocked field goals return. I mean, that's a touchdown. So like, and it's when they get going, it's hard to stop because I mean, most kickers aren't tracking down these guys, barreling it in, but sometimes it is kind of confusing how a 300-pound defensive lineman can run it 60 yards and get untouched. But
Mm.
anyways, that was Coffin Corner here on RomTom. We'll bring that back weekly, hopefully,
I love it.
if I
Of
bring up some find some more statistics like I did. But
course.
shall we get into the week 4 games?
Man, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm very excited for this.
Well, so far we've already had a divisional close game this past Thursday. Seattle did beat Arizona, game-winning field goal. Does this pretty much put Seattle in the driver's seat for the NFC West thus far?
I would say so, honestly. I think the Niners, with Purdy back, with Brock. So I'll get the food down the gob first. With Brock Purdy back this week, though, I think you can't count out the Niners with their complete roster. But you know what's really bugging me? The injuries on the Niners roster. You have Nick Bosa potentially out for the season now. Um, Christian McCaffrey, with injuries the past few seasons. Brock Purdy's had his fair share. Um,
Pearsall,
so
wide
yeah,
receiver.
like, so I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to ride with Seattle at this point. I love how Sam Darnold's playing. He looks, really sound, managing games well. Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. Crazy. I had him in my exceeds expectations category because he's gone absolutely mental. Um, but yeah, I'll probably say Seattle, but I can't wait to see them play again because I believe they played in week 1 and the 49ers got the best of them. But it'll be interesting to see them circle back to that matchup later in the season.
Yeah, I mean, we can. I forgot about that, but before we get into the week 4, give me some overrated, underrated, and properly rated guys that you have been on your watch.
So I had kind of exceeded expectations, met or fallen short. So unfortunately, I'm going to start with fallen short. So I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. It's been very disappointing, but I think there's no point beating a dead horse. Like everyone's kind of aware of that, unfortunately. The drops, the miscues, lack of synergy with Kyler Murray as well. Um, that's been disappointing. So I had him down there, unfortunately, and then Bryce Young also because I think it's time to stop, giving him a get out of jail free card and put the pressure on him like we do with all the other young quarterbacks. I think the time has come to step up, and yeah, perform really. And then met expectations. I had the usual names: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They're doing their thing, and then exceeded expectations. I had Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he's really broken out thus far, and then I actually had Bijan Robinson as well because even though the expectations were reasonably high and people knew what he was about, watching the games and statistically, like he's turning into a dominant player. So
Yeah, we saw some glimpses of him for sure in the previous seasons, but he's really started to hold his own there in Atlanta.
mm.
Now, this week we do have a game in Dublin, Ireland. It is 8:30 Mountain Standard Time, 6:30 for the people on the West Coast. So I'm kind of glad I'm not on the West Coast anymore.
Mm.
Minnesota, Pittsburgh. I like Minnesota in this game. I think last week we saw um, some some struggles for Pittsburgh, and I think Minnesota takes this one. These games are always really hard to figure out what's going to happen just with the travel and preparation and practicing on different fields. So.
Yeah, they're so hard to predict. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, um, just because I trust Aaron Rodgers more than Carson Wentz. We didn't see Carson Wentz, have a lot put on his plate last week. The game was really decided through defense and special teams. So I'm going to take the Steelers in a low scoring one.
Now we have Dart's first start against the
Oh,
Chargers. I think the Giants can keep it closer than the experts think, but I think Herbert betting against him at this point where he's playing the best ball of his career, I think would just be a bit too much to ask for Jackson Dart.
yeah, yeah. Got to take the Chargers there. I'm very excited to see what Dart can do, though.
It's going to be definitely a key matchup. This one might be a different story. Houston and Tennessee, both
Mm,
at 0 and 3.
man, I'm going to take Houston, because I do still trust CJ Stroud and the experience he has. Tennessee's been super disappointing, obviously. Um, yeah, they haven't really been the same for a few years since they played the Patriots in the playoffs, the Tom Brady led Patriots. But yeah, they're still in rebuild mode. I'm going to roll with the Texans. More complete roster.
Now, you've mentioned Tom Brady a couple times so far on this podcast. What are your thoughts on him as an announcer for Fox?
I love him as an announcer. I think there's a bit of controversy with him having inside information about the teams and the upcoming matchups. There's a little bit sus there, but man, when I saw him in the box, when they were playing the Raiders game, he looked like he wanted to step out on the field. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a definitely adjustment for him, just how competitive he is. So
Hmm.
staying in that box has to be difficult at times. But with that being said, we have Washington and Atlanta. This is one of the closest games of the week. So far, right now, Atlanta's favored by a point and a half, but it's really a toss-up. I like Atlanta in this by a field goal.
Wow, wow. I'm taking Washington. I'm taking Washington purely because of the quarterback play. Um, However, do we know if Jaden Daniels is in or out?
I will get to that after you tell me your thoughts on the Saints Buffalo.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna go with side with Buffalo there. It should be dominant. I think the Bills really love, the fact that they are blowing out teams to where they can let Josh Allen sit for a bit, like they did the other week versus the Jets. So I think that'll be a similar situation, unfortunately, for Rattler and the Saints.
Daniels is out.
Okay, okay. I'm actually gonna still side with Washington, but I see why it's predicted to be such a close game with that in mind. But I'm gonna side with Washington.
Now, probably this or the Chiefs Ravens game, I think will be the best game of the week. Eagles Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay to upset the Eagles in this one at home.
Wow,
I think
wow.
Baker's on a roll.
Mm. I think he is too. That's going to be very interesting to watch. I'd probably still take Philly, just because they've proven time and time again they have learned how to win. I mean, prime example last week against the Rams, we thought the Rams were on, or Philly was on upset alert, but they still found a way to pull it off, much like the Chiefs did last year. So man, I'm gonna have to go with Philly, Romy.
Do you think the Browns are going to be able to sneak one on the Lions this week?
No, I think a clock is, a broken clock's right twice a day, and I think that's what we saw with the Browns versus Packers last week. I I'd love to call it, you know, a consistent performance for them, but I think it was a fluke. Defensively, they look great every week, but yeah, no, I don't see it happening. Take the Lions.
Now, probably the worst game of the week, on the other hand, Carolina and New England.
Mm.
This might not, I don't even know if I want to like have this anywhere in the vicinity of a television screen.
Oh my goodness, that's insane. Yeah, I'm gonna say you might catch me dozing off during that game. However, I would be, interested in watching Drake May, as I haven't seen. He hasn't been on prime time yet, so I haven't had a chance to actually tune into one of his games. So I'd be very intrigued to watch Drake May throwing to Stephon Diggs, etc. So yeah, I'll take the Patriots for sure.
I have them as well. Another upset pick that I do have. Give me the Jaguars over the 49ers this week. I think Trevor Lawrence gets it together on the road and shocks them.
Oh wow, wow, that's gigantic, especially at Levi Stadium. But I can assure you, I'm going with the 49ers, especially with Purdy back in there. I think Trevor Lawrence throws 2 to 3 interceptions. I think it's going to be a 14 to 17 point game, Robbie. I'm sorry to tell you. So we'll have to see who wins that matchup between the hosts here.
Definitely, I forgot that Purdy was playing when I did my prediction, but I'm gonna stay by it just in case it happens. I'll look like a wizard. So, moving on from that potentially idiotic pick from Rami, we have the Rams and Colts.
Oh wow, wow. We've got to put that in the game of the week conversation, right?
I mean, Indiana Jones is must-see TV at this point. Not talking about Harrison Ford, by the way.
Totally agreed. And I mean, the Rams are exciting to watch in their own regard as well. With such stellar quarterback play with Matthew Stafford. But do you know where that's at?
It's at LA.
Wow. Okay. In that case, I'd probably side with the Rams. I actually think their defense can give Daniel Jones a few headaches with the way they fly around. They're super young, fly to the ball. So we shall see. But I'm not going to act like I know what's going to happen in any sense of the word, because that's a flip of a coin, in my opinion.
I think Matthew Stafford is definitely like a Costco version of Tom Brady in the fact that he's doing this at 37 years old. He's still kicking it.
Yeah.
He's not quite on the tier of Brady, but he's still kicking it. He's not quite Rodgers doing ayahuasca in the offseason, but he's right there.
Yeah, yeah. No, he seems to have a bit more, stability than our man A Rod. He has a loving family and whatnot, a few children. Um, I know his wife stirred up a bit of controversy at some point, though. That was a bit crazy, but you see, Matt Stafford is just focused on ball. He's a baller at heart, so he's focused on the business, and that pays off. And as I mentioned, it's crazy. We're talking about him going to the Giants or whoever else, just a few months ago. So
Another case of two ballers going at it, much like RomTom. We have Lamar versus Mahomes. The Chiefs are underdogs again at home. This is just unheard of. They never were underdogs before this season, really, at home for as long as I can remember. And is there any case that the Chiefs take this one at home, or do you think it's just Ravens all day?
no, I'm backing the Chiefs. I'm backing the Chiefs for sure. I believe in them to bounce back. I think the crowd gets super involved, especially in such a huge game like this. We've seen it happen before. I think the Chiefs get it done. I think, they didn't look amazing against the Giants, but they got the job done. And we've seen in seasons past, sometimes that's all they need. Just a little click, you know, little performance like that brings the team together, and then all of a sudden they're rolling. So I back the Chiefs.
It's going to be a weird outcome either way because either one of these teams is going to fall to 1-3 no matter the outcome. So that's just
That
a weird. It's a weird, unless they tie, obviously, but it's going to be a weird situation either way.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts, isn't it? Like, and not well, I don't believe that's happened at all in the Mahomes, Lamar, Allen era. Like where we see that happen, that's insane.
Another case of a close game this week, Chicago and the Raiders. I had a tough time choosing this one, but I do have the Raiders winning this one.
Yeah, okay. I'll play devil's advocate and go with Chicago because I think it is a flip of a coin. I think, Caleb Williams has started to come into his own and play a bit better football as well. So I have to go with the Bears, honestly. And Gino's been throwing the ball away. So
Now, mentioned earlier this week on the Brotherhood Ballad podcast, Alex Johnson informed me that the Cowboys are not going to have a tribute video for Micah Parsons at the Cowboys Stadium Sunday night. Do the Cowboys have any chance, or the Pack? Is this a Packers blowout?
uh, it's a it's a Packers win. I don't know about a blowout actually. I think the Cowboys will be super fired up because you know they haven't had the greatest performances thus far, but I think they've come out with a point to prove. The week 1 performance against Philadelphia was really impressive because I think they're out to prove that, they're not just a team of Micah Parsons. Like, they are the Dallas Cowboys, supposedly America's team, and, want to prove they have other names on both sides of the ball. So I think they're going to come out with a point to prove and it'll be close. But I'll take the Packers.
Yeah, I think the Packers as well. 6.5 spread, I'd probably take that. Give them about a touchdown or maybe even a 10-point victory at that point. Now, Monday night, we have a doubleheader. Jets Dolphins, a 0-3 affair, and then Bengals Broncos. I will definitely have the Broncos game on,
Yeah,
obviously, in this household for
yeah,
sure.
of
But
course.
I think Broncos really need this. It's not quite a must win, but it's right there.
It's yeah, totally agreed. I mean, I would classify it as a must win. Just with what Sean Payton wants to achieve there. It's not just to kind of skate by, especially with what they went through with the Russell Wilson situation. It's to make a deep playoff run and potentially a Super Bowl as well. So I'll take the Broncos in that game. Also, I think the Dolphins Jets needs to be mentioned in the snooze fest, conversation as well. Unfortunately, I don't think someone could pay me a large sum of money to watch that game. I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna take the Dolphins. I think we'll see a couple Waddle celebrations and Tyreek Hill doing his thing, but against an inferior opponent though.
Now, what are you most looking forward to this weekend of football and in just the sports world? What are you most looking forward to?
Man, this weekend I'm excited to watch young quarterbacks play. Drake May, who I haven't been able to watch yet, and then Jackson Dart. That one I'm super excited for. Um, and then how people bounce back too, like Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, like guys that have had a slower start to the season. And then I mean, man, it seems like every week we've got those blockbuster matchups too. Ravens at Chiefs is absolutely insane. So man, another stellar week of football. And from all accounts, I think, this is the best, most exhilarating NFL season to date. We've seen all time games literally in a span of 3 weeks. So,
Couldn't have said it better myself. RomTom Episode 2. Thanks for watching.
Rom Tom, thanks for having me.